Today we have some good news and some bad news for The Mandalorian. Let's start with the so-called bad. According to Deadline, The Mandalorian Season 4 is going to be affected by the WGA strikes, and they say the start of production is going to be moved back. Now this, according to Making Star Wars, is not true, because production on Season 4, filming especially, was only meant to start in October, so unless the strikes go until then, it's not going to be affected. Season 4 is already written, so there is a very high likelihood The Mandalorian is not going to be affected. In their own words, Deadline say the following: according to sources, the flagship Disney Plus series will likely push the start of production for The Mandalorian Season 4. While not officially announced, a fourth season has been fully expected, and the series showrunner Jon Favreau confirmed earlier in the year that scripts were written. They say that while there's a bit of breathing room until Season 4 starts filming, they're hearing there's a strong possibility it's going to be delayed, but Lucasfilm refused to comment. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how this plays out if the WGA strikes are still going in September. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And so now, onto some good news for The Mandalorian. But before we go any further, please be sure to hit that big red subscribe button down below if you've not done so, and hit the bell for notifications so you're alerted every time that I post a new video. But no more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into this. Now that The Mandalorian Season 3's come to an end, many Star Wars fans have been wondering, when are we going to get the Disney gallery for it, the behind the scenes stuff? And for Season 3, let's be honest, whether you loved it or hated it, there's going to be a lot of interesting things. While Star Wars have just announced the making of The Mandalorian Season 3 streams on June the 28th. So a month and a half before the Ahsoka show, and this shot that they're using is of Carson Teva, Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, in his X-Wing. Now, while I'm really excited about this, I still wonder why we've not had one for the Andor show. They did one for the first 2 seasons of Mando, for the Book of Boba Fett, for the Kenobi show, and now Mando Season 3, but nothing for Star Wars Andor Season 1. So what can we expect from this? Well, as always, they're gonna go through the behind the scenes of every director who worked on the show, every episode, some tidbits, and we might even find out about deleted scenes, just as we did for Mando Season 2 and Book of Boba Fett. I previously covered those. I'm also really curious about the behind the scenes for episode 6. That was the episode with Lizzo and Jack Black. I can imagine there being some really fun and silly tidbits for that episode. We did see some behind the scenes stuff with Jack Black and Lizzo on Instagram. And for that episode, it was very much a deviation from the regular kind of Star Wars content, and I'm all here for Star Wars evolving and trying new things. Personally, I love the aliens at the dinner table for that scene. They were drinking from that creature. It was a congregation of some very awesome aliens, and I think these behind the scenes documentaries really get you appreciating just how much work goes into these shows, the design crew, the creature team, and I love these for Bryce Dallas Howard's Season 2 episode, Chapter 11, the Quarren and the Mon Calamari, so I'm excited to see more of this kind of thing in this doco. I'm also really curious to hear from Bryce Dallas Howard about some of the directing decisions on that episode, and just generally Jon Favreau's writing, his interpretation and thought process behind some choices, what they were trying to go for. Could this give fans some understanding of why for many fans the season felt very inconsistent, especially compared to the first 2? I'm also very curious to see the behind the scenes for Chapter 19, which in my opinion was the best episode of the 3rd season. That was the one with Omid Abtahi, Katie O'Brien, everything concerning Coruscant, and at the end, Bo-Katan converting to the Children of the Watch. And I remember for the gallery for The Mandalorian Season 2, they did this big breakdown retrospective of the Krayt Dragon, how they brought it to life, the visual effects, all that awesome stuff in Chapter 9. I would love to see the same kind of thing for the creatures of Season 3, the turtle dinosaur, the dragon, the mythosaur, and also that grievous looking creature in the mines of Mandalore in Chapter 18. I think this is going to be really fun, and I'm going into it with a very curious mind. From what they do decide to put in, because of course they're not going to include everything, I just want to get a better understanding of the structural decisions on the season, so that's going to be really exciting to see. Of course they might do a roundtable again with all the producers and directors, and we get to hear some of those creative conversations. Season 3 does seem like the kind of series that warrants it. So as I say, this streams on June the 28th. Here's what the official Star Wars social media account said. Take a look behind the scenes of The Mandalorian. Disney Gallery The Mandalorian returns with an all-new special, The Making of Season 3, streaming June 28th only on Disney+. So this is basically bridging the live-action gap between The Mandalorian and the Ahsoka show. I also want to see the visual effects, the practical, the CGI stuff, and also the puppeteering for the Anzellans and Grogu. Not to mention the input of Phil Tippett for The Mandalorian Chapter 18. And here is just a very wild prediction I think Rian Johnson may have been on set, especially for the last 2 episodes. There are so many tropes reminiscent of The Last Jedi, and I do feel as though that might be one of the surprises. Again, just wild speculation, don't take that too seriously, I'm just putting it out there. With all of the references to the sequels, especially episode 8, I wouldn't be surprised if Rian was there. We spoke about the Praetorian Guards, Moff Gideon's death resembling that of Captain Phasma, the visual parallel between Grogu controlling the fire and Yoda's Force Ghost on Ahch-To, the reference to Project Necromancer. But what about Axe Woves coming down on the light cruiser? Even though he didn't sacrifice himself, he lived. The heroic move by Axe Woves was a heavy nod to The Last Jedi's big Admiral Holdo sacrifice. Admiral Holdo was not a popular character, I know that, and I get this is a bit of a weird comparison, but it is an appropriate one. Holdo had to buy time for Leia's resistance to get to Crate, and so she performed the Holdo maneuver. She initiated a hyperspace jump, and the Raddus collided with the Supremacy mere moments before the cruiser would have transitioned from real space into hyperspace. And while Axe Woves' maneuver was very different, the visual reference once again was there, as well as the themes of bravery, selflessness, and seeing your fight through to the end. But as I say, Axe Woves survived and escaped the ship last minute using his jetpack. And luckily there were no Mandalorians on board. We saw them evacuate to help Bo-Katan take on the remnant on Mandalore. But the Holdo thing aside, because I know it's not popular, it did stun a lot of fans to see Axe Woves being so selfless. He is a true Mando, and I loved when he chanted for Mandalore at the end. A certified hero putting the cause first, and just like the other Mandalorians, he realised Bo-Katan was meant to lead again, even with the Darksaber destroyed. Going back to this upcoming documentary though, it'll also be fantastic to hear from Katie Sackhoff, to see the work of Brendan Wayne, Lateef Crowder. I don't know if Pedro Pascal's going to be in this doco, because he only recorded his lines, he wasn't on set. So this is something to look forward to. June the 28th, share your thoughts in the comments down below. In other Star Wars news, Joel Edgerton, who plays Uncle Owen in Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and The Kenobi Show, says he owes much of his career to George Lucas for casting him in Star Wars. Speaking with The Hollywood Reporter, he opens up about what it was like working on the franchise. He remembers when he first played the young version of the classic character, the movie Attack of the Clones did not get glowing reviews, but even back then, he was so grateful for the opportunity. He says, quote, "It allowed everyone in LA to kind of welcome me and go, oh, he's in Star Wars, let's give him an audition for other things." And interestingly enough, Edgerton admits that at first, he was hesitant and even reluctant to return to the role of Owen Lars for the Disney Plus show Kenobi. He says, "I was a little bit, not snobbish, but reticent in regards to going, I've done this before." He says, "I've always joked that Uncle Owen is the most boring character in Star Wars history because he's a moisture farmer and he doesn't get to wield a lightsaber," but he adds, "I saw it as a way to complete a circle of some kind." And so, he decided to appear in the show. He saw Deborah Chow's series as the opportunity to add more layers to the character. He was looking for more depth. He goes on to say, "Everybody thinks that Uncle Owen is a grumbly, cankerous, say-no dude. This was my opportunity to put a bit more context on that and have people maybe like him a little bit more. And I think we did that." He continued, "My one caveat to them was I know what you're planning with the story and how it unfolds, and I'm not asking for more screen time, I just want to do something cool." He then requested, "Can I at least have one fight? Can I throw my sleeves up and get into one brawl?" The writers obliged, and Uncle Owen ended up fighting Moses Ingram's character, Reva the Inquisitor. Still to this day, a widely controversial character in the Star Wars fandom. But Joel Edgerton says he thought it was really awesome, and I've got to say guys, I love that he's appreciating George Lucas's work. He's done so much aside from Star Wars, and yet he thanks George Lucas for his career. I love this man. And so finally, my dear friends, you guys know I love my Funko Pops, and The Mandalorian Season 3 has had a few that have been announced. I want to go through them, but it is a shame. We have no Praetorian Guards, we have no Anzellans, no Lizzo, no Jack Black, so here is what's confirmed. A regular pop of Din Djarin with the Mandalorian Season 3 design, and I'm talking about the design, the logo being a bit different. Maybe they're going to go for the green one, but I do say maybe for a reason. None of this is official. Then we have Grogu with his black pram, Bo-Katan on her own, Paz Vizsla on his own, the Armourer, Peli Motto with Grogu, now an obscure one, Judge Macaroon, Bo-Katan on her throne, the Mandalorian N1 Starfighter, which is a must, and a Mandalorian 18-inch mega-size Funko Pop. I'm sure more are going to be announced, but this is the initial lineup. So share your thoughts on this and everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.